All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and record a little intro here for the ones that are going to be watching the recording on YouTube. So my name is K. Michael Russell. I'm a comic book colorist, and tonight I'm going to be doing a little coloring demonstration in Photoshop. This is a page from a new project, and so yeah, I'm going to try to just walk through the whole process, start to finish, from me getting the colors from the flatter, or the flats back from the flatter, to hopefully finished product or close to finished product. I don't know if I'll have time to stream the whole thing tonight. But at any time, if you just got here and you have questions, please feel free to use the questions or use the little chat box there next to the video. Hello. We have people coming in. So so yeah, and if you want a more in-depth lectures, I guess, or lessons on coloring, I do have a coloring course at learn.comiccolor.com. That's learn.comiccolor.com. And I think I'm going to have a discount code for the people that are here tonight. I think is what I'm going to do. So we'll wait until we get some more people here. Got a few more, I guess 2 minutes before I said I was going to start it. So there's already way more people than usual attending this. So if you just got here, welcome. We'll be starting here in just a few more minutes, maybe 2 minutes or so. Haven't done this in a while, so this should be fun. One more minute. Cool beans. There's a phrase I don't hear every day. But yes, it is totally cool beans. I'm not sure how I'm going to do coloring and watching the chat at the same time. So if I take a few minutes to get to your question or comment, then that's why. And if you're just joining us, I'm going to be starting right at 8:30 Central, which is coming up very, very shortly. All right, it's 8:30. So first off, thanks to everyone for coming. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this. This is a project. I can't tell you the name of it yet, I don't think. I can't tell you who the publisher is, and I can't tell you who I'm working with, I don't think. Not yet. So, but it should be a fun project. It's a big project for me, the biggest I've ever done. It's 8 issues, and so I'm looking forward to that. But so I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to try to talk through what I'm doing, just so if you're new to my videos and the channel, then hopefully you can sort of follow along. So I've just got this back from the flatter. You can see it's you know, very psychedelic, and which is good, because if the colors are crazy, then I know when something needs to be changed. And the flatter doesn't really have any input as far as colors go. I'm going to change most of these. But anyway, so I'm going to start that, and I guess if there is a boring part, this may be it. But I'm just going to be toning down colors and changing colors, and try to get this to look more like I want it to look. In this, I'm going to actually color this probably more saturated than usual, because I'm going to be using a gradient map at the end, which sort of tends to what's the word I'm looking for? It tends to desaturate things a little bit, so it's going to be pretty amped up there. I don't even know. I don't know what I can tell you about this. I really can't tell you anything about this at this point, I don't think. So I'll try to answer whatever questions I can now. There is a chat window I think on the YouTube page. If you're watching this embedded somewhere, I don't think you can see that. So you may want to check that out. When I get something like this is a castle that's pretty much all going to end up being about the same color. Right now it's sort of all over the place. What I tend to do, just to sort of as a shortcut, is I'll take whatever color or something close to a color that I'm going to be making it on a layer on top and just fill it completely. And then you can sort of play around with the opacity on that, and just to lower it just enough. It'll give you a good starting point. Like I said, right now I'm just selecting things and changing the colors, which is not particularly exciting. But I am already thinking about storytelling at this point. And if you're not familiar with what that means, basically it's getting the page to read properly. You know, what's the goal? What am I trying to draw your attention to? You know, is it the castle? Is it the skulls? You know, in this case, the castle is really going to be the focus here. So eventually, I'm going to draw your attention here when I get to the rendering stage, and all of this will blend a little bit more. And I'm going to keep things cooler because things that are warmer tend to draw your attention, and so things that I want you to sort of look past tend to go cooler. And yes, I am using my Intuos2, which you heard me talk about probably if you're on the channel very much, which is 13 years old. And I've got a new 27-inch 1440p monitor that I wish I bought a long time ago. So much room for activities. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and you'll see me merge a lot of the. I'll make new layers and merge them back down and all sorts of things throughout that. So if you're trying to figure out what I'm doing there in the layers window. So I can make a new layer, fill that, it's too dark, fill that orange color, and then I'll change the opacity just enough to keep the separations. You know, if I left it at 100%, I would grab everything if I tried to color it. So I just shifted it down just a little bit so that if I want to grab just this thing, once I merge this back down, I can grab this in sections if I wanted to. And these colors are probably not what this is going to look like when it's finished. You know, it's going to be close, but you know, it's going to change quite a bit. So I tend to just sort of just work through it a little bit at a time here. And everything in this world that I'm in right now is pretty warm because we're going to be switching to like a different universe that it's going to be cooler. So that's why I'm sticking with a lot of browns and oranges and that kind of thing. That looks cooler. I'll just leave that black. I was thinking about making it a color, but black looks good. And some of this, again, I can't tell you too much about it, but there is a reason why that you've got. This is actually a panel that was copied from another panel. It's part of the story. We keep going back, and again, I can't really tell you what's going on here. I don't want to give anything away. But this is going to eventually, this panel here is going to be, I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to remember, but CRT, like tube TVs, used to sort of blink, and they would leave this little white or glowing dot in the center of the screen. That's what I'm going to have to do here. I get to make that, which is fun. All right. So this guy's never actually, I haven't colored this guy before. So I'm pretty much going to be making this up as I go along, which I'm glad that they trust me to do this, because I really, and of course if they have something to say about the way that it's colored, I'll be more than happy to change it, but it is kind of cool that I get to design this guy's costume here. Basically, the only instruction I was given was he needs to be mostly green. Sort of color coding our characters here a little bit. But these shoulder pads, let's see. We're going to make these more natural bronze gold or something. That'll probably look good with green. And I've got a call out to the artist to help me. The background in this panel here is, can't see that, is very loosely inked, and I can't quite make sense of what's happening. So they're going to mark this up a little bit for me with to get some clarity. The flatter was also lost. It looks like I couldn't really tell what was happening there. So that's fine to ask if you ever get a project and you just like, what am I looking at here? Don't be afraid to ask. And again, I'm still sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm still experimenting with colors on this guy. Like, I know, like I said, I know he's going to be green. That's about all I know. I tend to work dark to light, so if you see like for skin tones and things like that, I tend to make things darker and then render brighter. And anybody that's just joining us, like I said, feel free to ask questions or anything like that. I'll try to get to it. And at this point, I'm really not thinking about storytelling as much as just getting some colors in here, and I'll go back and edit this guy up a little bit if I want to. So let's see. I don't know if I want to go orange or gold or keep with the green. So I'll play with that later. And this won't take too much longer. I'll get to some more fun stuff here. And let's see, bad guys. Looks like orcs or something. So I want to make sure that these guys are not skin tone. Make them green, maybe. Again, I really don't have any color reference for this, so I may color this and find out that they wanted something else, and that's fine. It's pretty easy to go back and change colors, but I do like the idea of these guys being red. As far as their overall the theme, I guess, keep them red. And anything bright like that blade, again, I want to make darker so I can go back and make it lighter later. All right, let's see. So we're pretty close as far as local colors here. So like, you know, these this is a trick I use a lot. Like I said, your eye tends to get pulled to warmer things, and you tend to look away from cooler things. Your eye is not drawn to cooler things. So like in a panel like this, now if I left this local color, you know, these thorns or whatever this is here, and like his hair and the bow and all that's like about the same color. So I want to do something to sort of differentiate that a little bit. I'm going to do this one panel at a time, so I'm removing everything else. Let's see. So I could get like a blue. And I just put a new layer to make it blue. And sometimes I'll play with the opacity a little bit, or you know, saturation, sort of mess around with it. I still want it to, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly brown for you to read it as brown. I mean, even that right there is probably close enough. It's darker, so you're kind of looking past it into the brighter guy here in the middle. Same thing in this panel here. So like we've got our hero shot guys coming in here. It's the first time we're being introduced to this character, so he's the focus. Well, now we're looking past. The focus is this castle he's about to infiltrate or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this guy, because again, I want you to look past this guy. And what I'm doing is I'm selecting his colors, and then I'm removing it in this panel, because the flatter did what I wanted, which is color things the same color panel to panel, which is personally I like. But it does mean you have to sort of you have to do this. Now, if I wanted to, I could what's the word I'm looking for? I could just wait until I'm done and select that panel and get rid of it. That's probably the smarter thing to do. So I think what I'll do sometimes just to test that is I'll get some crazy color and fill it to see, you know, did I get everything I wanted? And I did. And now I'm going to remove all of this stuff. I don't want to affect those. I'm going to zoom out and make sure there's no other things highlighted. And I'm going to get that blue color again. And adjust the opacity just a little bit. See, that's about, I don't know, 70% or so. You can always adjust this later. And really, I should go back and get this stuff here too. And like I said, this part can be boring, but this is really the most important part, because if you mess up this part, the whole page is not going to work. Let me go right panel here. So So what I did, I've got this layer here with that bluish, pretty saturated, not too dark, blue here, and you can see, what it's doing here. But it's now sort of framing this castle back here. Okay, it doesn't have to be local color. It's not the same green, but and I actually missed his little arrow here. Let me get that. Get on the right layer. All right. And welcome for tuning in if you just joined us. This is actually a record, 20 people. I know it's not a lot, but I've never had that many people on a stream before. And if you've just emerged that down, since we've broken a record and you guys are so awesome, if you, let's see, if you haven't purchased the course yet, my coloring course, the coupon code livestream, all one word, livestream, will give you $20 off in case you haven't got that yet. I usually don't run sales. I really don't ever run sales at all, but I thought it'd be a good idea to do this if you want to. If not, that's cool too. I'm just going to type the website here so you can get that if you want. Comments cannot contain links, so never mind. Just go to learn.comiccolor.com if you haven't got that, and if you're interested in doing that. And if you purchased the course already, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm having a lot of fun with that, posting feedback and critiques and teaching people things I wish someone told me when I started. Let's see. So I'm really just going to do this again on this panel here. I've got this wall or whatever this is here, and this guy. And same color. And I'm going to desaturate that a little bit, or not desaturate it, but turn the opacity down some. Close enough. All right, we're about to start rendering this thing. So, all right, so here we go. I've got my flats layer. I've got an inks layer on top, set to multiply. This is all pretty standard. If you've watched any of my channel, it's really not that different. I've got the weird panel here that I copied from the other thing, and now I've got the name of the book censored at the top, so I'm not going to turn that one off. But really, it's just two layers. And I'm going to duplicate my flats. I'm going to call that color, or colors I usually call it. So now I've got my flats, and I'm going to lock my flats so that the little lock button, because I don't want to change these ever at all at this point. I mean, I may want to go back and change the flats for another reason, but I don't want to accidentally paint on those because it's a pain in the butt to go back and have to fix those. And so anyway, I usually like doing backgrounds first because backgrounds, it sort of helps you to, for me anyway, it helps me to get the lighting right. If I get the background right when I get to the characters, then I don't have to. What's the word I'm looking for? I have to worry about what's my lighting situation, what's all that. So I tend to start with the backgrounds first. And yes, the sky is orange in this world, at least the way I've done it, because, well, there's a reason for it, but I don't think I can tell you what it is. Not yet. And let's see, I do have another page from the panel over here, or another page from the comic over here that if I want to pick a color from it, I can try to keep things consistent. A lot of times I'll just re-pick over here. It doesn't have to be exactly right. And let's see, I got this brush from, I can't remember the guy's, KNKL is his channel. I don't know what it stands for, but it's just normal mode. I don't know, it's just a brush he's got. You can download on his thing. But so again, I want to draw attention to this this capsule. So I'm going to sort of just light it up around it, and I can pick colors from this and adjust it and play with it and all this stuff here until I get what I want. And I tend to just do some brushy stuff and see how it looks. And this takes practice. There's really no trick to this. It's just I'm constantly picking like that yellow and dragging it around. And if I want to go a little darker, like I can go a little red. And the question was, what's the coupon code for? I have a coloring course. There should be a link maybe in the top right in the window. It's normally $49. It takes $20 off. If you want, if you're interested, of course. It's going to run. I've got it running through Sunday, I think. So if you want to do that, then you can. So, and I'll do that in the same way on the other other parts of the sky here. Really don't have to do much here. Just put some color around. Doesn't have to be too fancy. And if you're thinking, oh my God, I'll never be this fast, it takes me forever to color a page. It took me forever to color a page too when I started, so don't sweat that. All right, so I've got all this rock and stuff here, and I'll go ahead and do that next. I think I flatter used the same color here, which means I've got to unselect this stuff. For backgrounds that go against each other, if you're flatting, you want to use different colors because otherwise you have to go in and reselect around it. And but yeah, I mean, I really don't run sales very often. I probably won't do this again for like a year. So if you're interested in that, I'm not blowing smoke. I really don't run sales. But I thought, hey, there's 20 people in here wanting to learn how to color. What's wrong with you people? I think it's awesome. It's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess it's a very niche market here, but I'm always happy to see people interested in coloring. If you guys have questions about anything at all, I'm having to reselect this because I was an idiot and unselected it and did something else. Yeah, if you guys have questions about anything, please feel free to ask. So again, I want to draw attention to the castle over here. So I'm darkening this a little bit with just a little bit of blue. And so again, the lighter part's going to draw your eye. And then for the backgrounds in this book, I'm being pretty painty, I guess, here with the colors, which I've started using a lot more. Just getting at least for a lot of backgrounds, and just to be able to separate the characters, and so I'll do them like really sharp with you know, cut and grad, kind of like I normally do, and that's something else that you don't want to color every surface the same exact way, because like the way you would color a rock you know, it's going to reflect differently than, you know, a piece of fabric or something, you know. And in here, like I said, this stuff's not really super important to this panel. I mean, so I'm not like spending a whole lot of time like getting every little nook and cranny rendered. Like as long as it reads, I mean, that's really all that matters. And like again, I'm getting brighter over here next to this castle because, you know, I want you to look over here at this castle. And let's see. I'm going to bump the saturation up on this just a little bit. And for the people that are listening to the recording, it says, "You're a really great teacher. I've learned so much just from what you provided on YouTube." I can't thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm reading the comments for the questions for the people that are listening to the recording. I'm not just getting high on myself over here. And the course, if you haven't joined it, it does, most of these brushes are in there that I'm using. If they're not, just let me know. There are a few that I've purchased that you would just have to purchase, but like this grunge brush here and whatnot, like, but most of my tools and settings and presets and all that stuff is in there. And a question that I get a lot, and I talk about this in the course, people asking why their colors are printing muddy or why they're printing darker than they think it should be. You pretty much, as a rule of thumb, when you're picking colors, now this is the same as the regular, you know, Photoshop color picker. It's called Magic Picker. It's a plugin I bought. You really want to stay in about the top third or top 2/3, I guess, of this window. You really, if you'll notice, this is getting off, not really off the subject, but we're derailing a little bit. The amount of K in the color, you see that changes here. That's the amount of black ink when it goes to the printer, what percentage it's going to use. If you get much below about 30, 20 to 30, and really 30 is pretty high, more 20-25 range. If you get much darker than that down here, it's going to print like crap. It's going to be too dark, and you're not going to be able to, it's just going to look bad. So you really don't want to, you want to stay up in this area up here picking colors, because and you want things to be relatively lighter than that. So like in this panel, like this tree looks dark back here relative to everything else, but if I color pick that, you know, that's only like right there in the window, you know. Someone asked how long the stream is going to be. I have no idea. Maybe, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't know if I'll get the whole thing done, especially when I'm talking and stopping and all this crap, but I'm going to try. Sometimes instead of choosing flat separately, it's easier to circle around it and then get everything else, like deselect everything else. And you know, picking colors is it's one of those things that takes practice. You know, I'm just lighting up this castle a little bit. Actually, I'm going to try it from the bottom. Like maybe there's dust in the air. Yeah, I like that better. And so I selected all the castle here, and I put it on a new layer. I hit to run the script that the action that I've got that puts it on a new layer and locks the transparency. So no matter what I do, I can't, let me get something obvious here. No matter what I do, I can't color outside. I can even make selections and still I'm going to be inside that. It's a trick. It's called the layer mode trick, I think, or something. I've got a video for it if you haven't seen it. And again, for the castle, I'm tending to I'm going to mostly use more just brushy stuff here than anything else. And I mean, the light source wasn't really clear from the ink, but I'm gonna, I've got it coming in kind of from the back here. So I'm gonna sort of render it that way. The question was, if you choose a base color on the warm side of the wheel, can you choose your shadow on the cool side? Yeah, that's a pretty good rule of thumb, I guess, is to do it that way. Let me see. I don't like what I'm doing there. I want some more color in that, so I'm just going to cut and grab this part a little differently. It's a building, so the lines can be sharper. The question in the chat is, how long does it take to normally color a page? Depends a lot on the page. This is going to take longer than usual because I'm talking and teaching and all that stuff. But I would say on average about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. That's an average. I've done pages that were simple in 45 minutes. I mean, and I've done pages that were not so simple that took 3 hours. So. A lot of times it really just depends on the page. You normally wouldn't get these, like you wouldn't do a building like the edges like I'm doing, but I'm thinking about this as like more of like an Adobe construction or something, like it's sort of rounded and everywhere. I've got a comment in the chat that I can color real good, and that is a friend of mine that owns a comic shop that has been very supportive of me, so he's all right. Another reason this probably takes me a little longer than usual is this is a sort of a new project for me, so there's a lot of things I'm still trying to figure out. Oops. Oh, the question is, what is that giant circular thing that keeps saying from time to time? That is how I'm changing the size of the brush. In Photoshop, if you have a brush selected, you can hold down the right button. No, let me get this right. Hold down the Alt key and then hold down the right click button on the mouse or on the pen. If you drag it left and right, it will resize the brush. So if I've got something, let me get something bright you can see. So I get on the right layer. There we go. That's big, it's tiny, it's super small. You can really quickly change your brush size that way. So it's, again, hold down Alt and then hold down the right click button on the pen and move it left and right. If you move it up and down, it will actually change the hardness. So you can go soft to hard very quickly too. I don't really mess with hardness very much though. All right, and again, I'm going to bump up the saturation in general on this building. And sometimes I'll go in and play around with the color balance too. Not every time, but the cons I attend, the Mississippi Comic. I'm from the coast of Mississippi, so I do a lot of local cons down here. The Mississippi Comic Con, which used to be Southern Pop Culture Convention in Jackson. Pensacola's Pensacon is a fantastic show, and I am doing Heroes this year for the first time. So if you guys are going to that, then I may see you there. Now I've got an action that I run in Photoshop to change the color of the lines. I explain all how that works in the course, but it basically copies the inks to a, what's it called, a channel, and then copies them back to a layer. This is how I learned to do it. There are many ways to do that, but then I can go in and color those lines if I want. I'm just lighting it up just a little bit because I want to. They call that atmospheric perspective. The further back you go in the atmosphere, the lighter things get. So yeah, that works. I'm going to consider these skulls to just be kind of in shadow. So instead of, like, they're kind of getting the cast shadow from this mountain over here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of reflected light, like a blue color maybe, to give it some interest here, but really doesn't need. And it would help if I would make my selection first. And again, like you see, I'm not spending just a ton of time here because it honestly doesn't make that much difference to this page. It's important, but it's not important. See, I'm trying to color my flats and I keep getting that warning. That's why I set that little thing up, because I will screw up my flats at least once a page if I didn't. And it's a little too blue for my taste, so I'm going to actually tone this down a little bit. Just a little bit. Just desaturating it a little bit, because your brain still looks bluish even though it's pretty gray. All right. Tell you what, I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. All the talking I'm doing slowing me down a little more than I thought it would. So I'm going to skip ahead to what I would do on, say, a character here, so you guys can kind of see that too. First off, I don't want his arrow to be green. Make it suit or for, not really. Sometimes that doesn't work. So, like for his bow here, I'm going to select just select the whole bow for the most part, and the arrow. Put that on a new layer and lock it, and then can go in here and let's see, how do I want to do this? There's a little bit of texture in here. And this is, you know, this is important to this character. It's probably pretty integral to who he is and as an archer here. So I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna spend a little time in here making sure that I've got all this stuff, you know, rendered out pretty well, because your eyes kind of, people, I don't know if you know this, but people tend to, when they're looking at a character, even in real life, you tend to look at faces and then hands. So like if you get faces and hands right, or what people are holding in their hands in this case, you get away with murder. You can like not render a lot of stuff, and not render, you don't have to go as in depth with the rendering and still still come out okay. And I'm using, I call it the Marta brush for Marta Gracia, one of my favorite colors. He uses hard light a lot, which is a hard mode to work in sometimes, to be honest, but the colors need to be really bright when you're using it, and they tend to be on the left side over here, which is, it's not very intuitive, I'll be honest with you, but you can do some cool stuff with it. And you can see like I'm really going higher contrast here too. You know, like the lights are very light and the darks are a little darker because let's see, for example, his left arm is completely missing. Yes, it is, actually. And the flatter tried to bail him out here. This arm probably goes like this, and then down here. Something like that. It's close enough. I'll go back and fix that later. And for special effects, this is something else that the special effects lesson is actually free in the course. That's one of the trial lessons. But this is make a new layer, fill it with black. All right, and don't freak out. Set the mode to screen. So if you want the yellow or bouncing off this thing or throwing a little bit of a what's the word? A little glow or something here, the colors just look better on that blackened screen mode. Don't ask me to explain that. I don't know. It just works. You can also get all fancy if you want. Like sometimes I'll get a lasso tool and let's see. Did I just lose the stream? Nope, it's back. Okay. Oh, maybe it's not back. Yeah, it's back. Okay. Anyway, I'm just do like a little X here I'm creating with the lasso tool, and then doesn't that look cool? Yeah. I'll get right on that point and just make it bright. So again, now your brain's going, oh, look at that. Dude's got an arrow. How do you pace yourself to in order to make deadlines? Well, I just tend to look at the calendar, and if it's a it's a full issue of something, I'll sort of a lot of books are like 22 pages, so I'll sort of break it into thirds and say, okay, I need 7 pages done by this day, and I need 7 more done by this day, and 8 pages done by that day, or and sort of break it up. So that works for me. May not work for everybody else, but that's kind of how I do it. And these inks are like super loose on this character, like in general. So you have to sort of get creative sometimes. And metal tends to have what they call specular highlights, which are like small little points of reflection. So you put those in there too, where I didn't do it on the wooden sword. That's another trick to not coloring everything the exact same way. I'm not going quite as bright on the other shoulder because this one's in front, and it's not going to get as much light. So I'm always thinking about where the light is, and it's really not obvious at all from these the inks. So I'm just sort of cheating here and doing what looks cool. I mean, it's still everything's going to be lit properly, but. Again, now I'm sort of making up an arm that doesn't really exist. And really not going to get a lot of light down here where his shoulder is. So I'm just going to where his chest is because of his arm and everything else. And I'm just sort of going to do a little bit here, not much. A little more on his, little brighter on his leg because that's getting more light. And then again, not a ton here on this. Well, I guess we will get a good bit on this side. A little brighter on that side though because of the angle that the sun's coming in at. And sometimes I'll go in and grab whatever's left, like that's not rendered. So like this area here, and like this green, and his arm, and even this little bit of orange left there. I'll grab all of that and then go in with a shadow color. So like I've got someone said earlier, I've got a warm light source, so I can do cool shadows. And the shadow brush I use is just a normal brush at about 50 to 20%, and I'll color in with that a little bit, and it ties everything together a little bit. You know. I'm going to darken his skin a little more. Again, this is the inks are pretty loose, so I'm keeping the colors pretty loose to match. You know what I mean? So I'm not super rendering every little thing. And faces can be hard. I still end up doing a lot of trial and error with faces. Let's see. He does have that little. You can get a little bit of a shadow there from his whatever the shoulder plate thing would jig. And I want this to be more orange. I like screen mode on skin a lot. I don't know why. To me, not in this case. I don't know. I'm having a hard time getting this skin tone right. If it doesn't work, try again. That's close enough right there. Again, I'm just going to kind of follow where his chest would be. This part of the stuff goes pretty quick. One thing left is his hair. Let's see, I messed that up. So he's looking pretty good. I can go in and since grab that whatever's left here on his skin, get that blue color again that I use all the time. Not that much. Hold on. There we go. And then again, for some of these background elements, I'm not even really gonna worry about doing those cut and grad. I'm just gonna get a brush and go just a little bit lighter, not much, and just kind of paint some of this in here. So let's see. I don't know if I'm going to do much rendering on this blue part because again, I sort of want to get you to look past that to the castle here. Get rid of that. I am going to think about, you know, atmospheric perspective again. You know, things tend to get darker, or I'm sorry, tend to get lighter the further back you go. So, except it's not going to get lighter under this little thing here. So, use that. Not select that, and then I can go in and and get my light color again. Throw this in here like that, and again I can grab colors and mix colors and keeping this pretty simple. For the most part, it's darker the further you go back. I mean lighter the further you go back, except for under here. And I may like go in with a, you know, blue color again and under that there a little bit. It's still not quite as, bump this up some. And the question is it ever difficult for you to get the shape you want while using the lasso? For me, it's a little hard to avoid shaky lines with that specific tool. Well, remember that you can use the Alt and let me get on the right tool. You can use if I don't look down, I can do it. The Alt tool to remove sections. And if you press it twice, you can make straight lines. Like if you want to remove a section. So like if I start squiggling here and then I hold down Alt and I pick it up, now I've got straight lines. So if I ever you know, think I'm going to be shaky through something, you know, I'll just switch to that Alt, hold down Alt. After you've started, hold down Alt, and that'll let you make as many straight lines as you want. I have a video on that too. It's called the lasso tool trick or something like that. It explains all of that in great detail. That's on YouTube also. All right, I'm going to do a little something to this guy here in the foreground. I'm going to try something here. I'm just going to select everything. And I'm just going to get a bluish color here. And that is way too much. Really just a big gradient here. Not doing a whole lot. It's a little brighter than I want now, so I can tone that down if I want, desaturate it a little bit, whatever I want to do here. All right, so, well, let's see, how long am I doing this? About an hour. I can go another half hour if you guys are still here. So that's awesome. I'm going to select all this castle here. All the castle except for the windows, anyway. Get rid of that. Again, keeping it pretty simple. Like all this stuff, I'm using that alt button because I don't want to have to try to trace all of that exactly. As long as you hold down that alt, you can still draw normally too, though. Again, I'm kind of drawing your attention, going a little brighter here on the door. I don't know how important that is really, but why not? Get you something to look at here. I don't have to be quite as exact down here in the background. Looks like this place is sort of in layers. Trying to draw the flats layer again. So again, I'm just kind of hinting around that there's just a little bit of light coming back there, but nothing too crazy. And then all of these windows, I'm assuming, I don't know if this place doesn't look like it has electricity, so we're not going to color them bright, but I'm just going to go, I'll get that some bluish again here. And just make those a little bit darker. I don't know, it's too blue. I'm going to go warm, let's try that. That tool that doesn't apply in every scenario. I like the red better. It's just kind of a deep red. All right, so, and again, this is kind of a good lesson on not picking colors too dark. I mean, this guy looks like it's much darker than this here, but honestly, it's, you know, if I color pick this stuff, you can see it's all, you know, not a lot of K there, very high up in the, not high up, but it's definitely not down at the bottom of the thing here. The other trick you can do, and I've got a video on this on YouTube, make a layer on top, fill it with black, and set the mode to color. And it's a good way to check your values. I just call this values. Because I sort of want this page to work even in black and white. Like I want this to, and actually I can go a little darker with this guy. You know, there's a little bit of separation there, but not a ton. So I can go back here and let me get my flats again and grab this guy. And usually what I'll do is use the levels and go a little darker. It's a little, for some reason it looks better than just go into the brightness and saturation and making it darker. I like that a little better. Just didn't change it much. And then turn the values off, and you know, So that's a possibility. All right, and all these guys standing around, really not going to do much with these guys at all. I'm just going to get a brush and hit their heads and shoulders. And that's about it. No need to go crazy rendering all this stuff out here. I'm not sure what I want to do with whatever this is right here. I think that may be like a courtyard through the other side. Yeah, I think it is. So yeah, we'll leave that light. So is this helpful for you guys? I mean, I know you guys aren't saying much, and that's fine. You don't have to be talkative in the chat, but I was just curious. All right, so in this panel, again, I want to go lighter on all this stuff in the background, so that I'm not sure what that is. Is that a shield on the wall, maybe? So, because I want these guys to stand out and what's behind us, so I'm gonna go lighter. Pick like the color of the sky almost. It's too light. Let's see. And then through this doorway here. So I think what that is. I'm not sure what that is. But what I'm going to do is go a little lighter back here. I don't know what this is. Let's fix that too. Yeah, someone was saying that the darkness of color tips for printing is a big help. I learned that the hard way. There was a project that I'm glad it wasn't a project. Actually, I was just getting a portfolio printed. I thought it'd be a cool way to show off my colors when I first started. Get a professional printer to, you know, print this thing. And so I sent it off, and it came back really, really dark. Like some of the pages, I couldn't even tell what colors I was using. It was pretty terrible. And they actually explained like why. They sent me a test one back and explained why it was like that. And it turned out I was just using colors that were way too dark. I thought, oh, it's dark, so I've got to use dark colors. You want to imply darkness with using other tricks. Use cool colors. Just use darker colors than the darkest thing on the page is going to read as dark. So even if it's not particularly a dark color in the Photoshop picker thing, your brain's gonna tell you it's dark. If that makes sense. I totally messed this all up. I thought I'd selected this already. Try that again. I think I'm gonna go about 15 more minutes and shut this down. In case you were wondering, somebody asked earlier how long it would take. Let's see, where was I? I want to darken this up a little bit because it's got that fire right here. So now I can go in and color dodge is great for fire. I mean, you can easily overdo it. It will like blow out and go crazy. So say really low opacities. Like 10%, you know, that kind of low. And it's good for fire. Close enough. And then for the fire itself, that's something else I typically would do a color holds on. It's when you change the color of the lines. Let's see, how do you color smooth surfaces like untextured walls? It looks like it either looks too plain or too gradienty when I color walls. I tell you a trick that I use sometimes is, hold on one second, let me get a like a texture of some kind. Like I use a lot of paper textures. So like if I wanted to, like this wall here is pretty plain, and I'm not going to add texture to this one, but say I wanted to, I can bring in like a paper texture. All right, so I've got this paper texture I just dropped in here. Place that. When I go to my flats and grab that wall, and then you get onto the layer where you dropped your texture and lock or do the mask button or whatever that is, the little square with the red circle. And so now you've got this texture on top, which looks like crap. But what you can do is you can play with the like the mode of that layer, like multiply or something, and play with the opacity. And you know, you can get just a little bit of a texture effect on. You can still do your same coloring and rendering like you normally would, but throw this on top of it. Overlay is another one that works pretty well. A lot of the colors come through better. So yeah, that's what I usually do there. I may actually do something like that on this. That would be pretty cool. On this castle, maybe. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to shrink it down for this castle that's in the front. And then go a little bigger here. So now I can go in and select, I'm going to turn this off temporarily. Go in and select all this stuff. It's close enough. I don't want that up there. It's too far away. I'd put a texture on that. And now, let's see, what did that do? I don't want to select this either. Okay, so I've got everything selected. I want to turn my layers back on. That's not what I want to do. I want to merge these two. I got to rasterize these. And then merge these two together. I'm going to set it to overlay and mask that off. And then I can play with the, you know, the opacity. I don't really want much there, so I'm not going to probably barely even see that, but it's there a little bit. You know, that's real low opacity, but if you get close here, you can see, you know, just enough to make it interesting. You guys are going to know all my secrets when this is over. Seriously though, if you like what you see, you know, check out my coloring course. There's 2 free lessons there. It's what's the word I'm looking for? And if you use the the coupon code livestream, it'll take $20 off. And I really don't run that sale very often. I don't run it hardly ever. So take advantage of that if you are interested in that. It's much more in depth. It's like 6.5 hours, I think, of me going step by step through everything, and I include all of my brushes and tools and presets and settings and all the stuff that Photoshop has to be set up right. All that stuff that I had to figure out on my own. So anyway, definitely check that out if you haven't. Or just watch the YouTube channel. There's a lot of good stuff on there. It's not as organized. Obviously, YouTube's a little, I don't know, it seems very random. I don't know how to get around that very much. But yeah, it's that is an option if you're interested. I'm just doing some color holds. I want to push this stuff back a little bit more. All right, well, let's see. How long is this now? Is this too long already? I will go. That's close enough. Hour and a half. Page is almost done. I've got a little bit more to do, but render these guys out. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been fun. Oh, I missed a question. Is it better to show a printed portfolio or a portfolio on a tablet? I would go with a tablet if I were you. Don't do what I did, print an ugly book. Go to, tablets are colorful and look good, and bright and look more like they looked when you colored it as opposed to how it looks on the page. But anyway, like I said, thanks for watching. I'll try to do this again, maybe before too long. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you learned something. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, and follow me and like me and stalk me and all the different options there. And like the video on YouTube, if you would, that helps a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. There's tons and tons of coloring tutorials on there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down, and I will see you guys next time.